In this video, we'll create a program that calculates the area and perimeter of a rectangle. So we'll get started first. Once the green flag is clicked, we'll actually draw the rectangle as well. So our first thing will be to erase everything. So we start with a clean canvas every time. So under the pen tools, I don't have the pen tools, I'll just add them by clicking on that blue square in the bottom left-hand corner, go to pen, and choose erase all. Now we'll get rid of everything that we have. Next up, I'm going to ask for a length, sorry, not that motion block, but the sensing blocks. And I'm going to choose this one here that says ask what's your name, and we will ask for a length of a rectangle. And we'll grab out this answer because we'll need that. But while we're here, we'll also ask the question, what is the width? Just copy this and change length to width. And we'll grab another answer. All right, we are going to need a couple of variables. So we'll click on the variables option. We will make a variable called length. Make a separate variable called width. And we will set the length equal to the answer that we got up here. And then we will set the width equal to the answer that we get down here. All right. So now we have our length and our width. It's probably a good idea to draw the rectangle as well, so we can actually see what's happening. That's a good sort of visual. So I'm going to create a block here, make a block. We probably don't need to make a block, but I'm going to do it anyway. It just kind of keeps the code nice and clean. Doesn't distract from what's going on. So we'll have this draw rectangle. We'll start here, and our rectangle very simply will we'll grab a repeat under the control menu. We'll repeat twice. We'll draw the length and the width, and we'll just repeat that twice. So we'll stick our pen down. So under the pen tools, pen down. We will move a certain distance. We don't want it to be 10 steps, but we'll fix that in a minute. We'll turn 90 degrees. Doesn't matter which direction we turn as long as we go the same direction. And then we'll grab another move 10 steps and another turn 90 degrees. Again, make sure it's the same direction as your first turn. And maybe we'll just throw a little weight in there so we can see. So under control, weight, 1 second maybe is a bit long, but maybe we can go, let's go 0.1 seconds. Now this draw rectangle will only draw rectangles that are 10 by 10, and that's not what we want. What we want to do is we want to create a parameter for our draw rectangle function. So I'm going to right click here, choose edit. I'll add a label for the length. And an input for the length. Add another label for the width. And another input for the width. And so now this draw rectangle block that we created, you can see it over here on the left, has a spot to enter a length and a width. And when I said earlier, it just makes the code nice and easy. You can see here that we ask for length, we ask for width, and then we're going to draw the rectangle. The details of the draw can be found over here. So we want to take our parameter of length and stick it in here in the first move, and our parameter of width, I don't know if I can get there. Here we go. Parameter of width, and just stick it in the second move. And then down in here, we'll just call, when we call this function draw rectangle, we'll make sure that we enter the length and the width here. So we'll just go grab those variables that we had, the length and the width, and stick them in there. All right, so this should ask for a length and a width. It should draw the rectangle. And then what we can do is we can display the area and the perimeter. I'm going to show you two ways to do that. I don't know that there's a better way, but I want to show you one way that maybe gives you some more tools in your programming toolbox. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's start with the easy way here, and let's create a variable called perimeter. So under the variables, we'll add perimeter. We may as well do another one called area. And we want to set the perimeter equal to, change this to perimeter. We don't want to set it to 0, we want to set it equal to the perimeter. So in order to do that, we're going to need some of the math operators. So let's go ahead. In order to do this, there are lots of ways that we could find the perimeter. I think I'll just do 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, but students would have lots of opportunities here to try what makes sense to them. So I'm going to grab out a sum block and a couple of multiplication blocks. So I want to do 2 times the length, so 2 times, and then I'll go grab the variable called length, and then 2 times the width. And then I want to sum those two things. And the way that Scratch does order of operations is kind of treats each of these bubbles as a set of brackets. So it will do this 2 times the length, it will do 2 times the width, and it will add those two things together. So I'll just stick the one inside the left side of the sum and the other in the right side. Again, the order doesn't really matter here. And then I'll just set the perimeter equal to that. Let's slide this rectangle out of the way. And once we have the perimeter, we may want to do something like output it. So we might want to go to the looks blocks, click on say for hello for 2 seconds. If you want it longer than 2 seconds, that's probably a good option. And probably what we want to do is we don't want to say the word hello, and we don't want to just say a single line of text. We want to say a combination of text and variables. So I'm going to click on the operators again, choose a couple of these join options, if I can find them. There they are. 5th from the bottom or something, 6th from the bottom. All right, I'm going to join a couple of things together. And the first thing I'm going to say here is that the perimeter is, and put a colon. And then I want to stick the actual value of that variable called perimeter in here. So we'll grab the under variables, grab the perimeter. If I do this, it'll say the perimeter is, and then just give the number. So I may want to add some more to that. So go back to the operators and choose join. Stick all of this in the first part of that join statement, and at the end I may want to include some units. I'm going to assume that when we move, you can call it steps, I guess, or we can call it pixels. I think I'll go with steps because that's how what we chose the cat to move was by certain steps. And if you, as I say, if you wanted to, you can call those pixels because I'm pretty sure that's what they're actually measuring. But whatever makes sense in your situation. Steps. So now I can say the perimeter is, and then the number, and then steps. Now, one thing I'll have to be careful of is that if I don't put a space before the word steps, it will jam the number and the word steps together without a space. So just make sure there's a space there. We may want a space after the colon, which it looks like I have. All right, now let's try this out. We'll stick that right in there. We'll say that for 2 seconds. Again, our variables are going to show here on the screen. We can turn those off. Sorry, on the stage, we can turn those off a little bit later on, but let's just keep them there to keep an eye on what's going on. So I'll click on the green flag, enter the length of a rectangle. Let's go with 30 pixels by 50. And you can see the cat drew it. I'm just going to change the size here. That's a bit big because I can't see my rectangle. There we go. Let's try that one more time. Enter the length, 30 and 50. And it tells us the perimeter is 160. And we can just verify 2 times 50 is 100, 2 times 30 is 60. We add those together and get 160. So the perimeter looks like it's working all right. We can do the exact same thing for the area. So under variables, set area to, in fact, we could probably just copy this block right here. Might save us a little bit of time. And then we can just change the variable to area. Obviously the area is not 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, but rather the length times the width. So I'm going to stick a length in there and a width in here. We don't need this. We'll just drag it to the toolbox and it'll disappear. All right, and once we have that, we can duplicate this join command. I'll get rid of the extra option, and instead of saying the perimeter is, we'll say the area is, and change this variable to area. And now we'll have to be careful with the units. It's not steps, but steps squared. It might be an interesting activity to get students to draw vertical and horizontal lines to show the makeup of that. All right, let's try it and see if it works. So we'll do 30 by 50. Tells us the perimeter, and then it tells us the area. 30 times 50 was 1500. All right, so that was a quick way. As I said, you can turn off these variables if you don't want them to show on the screen, so that you can see your work in action. So that was one way to do the output. The other way that I'm going to show you just introduces a different way to have Scratch react to your program. I'm just going to slide that draw rectangle is still here. I'm just going to slide it out of the way so we have a little bit more space. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it so that we're basically going to say, after we draw our rectangle, we'll ask what the user wants to do. Do you want to see the perimeter or do you want to see the area? So what we'll do is I'm just going to move all of this. We'll still need it, but we'll just move it off to the side. Under looks, I'm just going to say, and just to say this time, we'll leave it on indefinitely. We'll say press P to find the perimeter. Or A to find the area. And we could go about this the same way that we received the length and the width. So we can say that, we could get the answer. We could have used an ask block and then taken the answer and decided if it's P, do the perimeter, if it's A, do the area. That's fine too. Or we can go under the events blocks, and there's a block here that says when the space key is pressed. I'm going to drag that out, and I'm going to change the space key to the A key, because when the A key is pressed, I want to calculate the area. And then we'll grab out another one that says when the P key is pressed. And notice here I wrote capital letters in the instructions. The Scratch doesn't actually care if it's a capital letter or a lowercase letter. It should do the work either way. So I'll move this so you can hopefully read most of it anyway. And let's run it just to see if it still works. Let's do 100 by 200. There's our rectangle. Press P to find the perimeter. So I pressed P and it gives me the perimeter. And now if I press A, it will also give me the perimeter. And if I want to press P again, I can just keep going back and forth. So it's just another way to have the user interact with different keystrokes if that's something that you wanted to. So that was how to find the area and the perimeter of a rectangle using Scratch.